Hello, 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 hello. The Atlas of the Heart continues. Today's topic, true belonging. True belonging. Defined in a book called Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown and referenced in this Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. True belonging is not passive. It's not the belonging that comes with just joining a group or going to a family reunion or having a workplace or a profession. It's not fitting in or pretending. It's not selling out because we feel safer. Belonging is a practice that requires us to be vulnerable, to get uncomfortable at times, and to learn how to present ourselves as we are, boogers, flaws, and all, and to be present with people in whatever's going on with them without sacrificing who we are. We all want true belonging. And I remember in early years of ministry, now coming up on 25 years ago, of the thing that if people wore a banner across their head, a secret hidden message that we all must be awake to is, I want to belong. I want to belong. So we all want a true belonging, and it takes tremendous courage to actually belong or to put ourselves out to belong. And we don't have as much practice with it as we might think, regardless of how old we are, because we still live with human frailties of insecurity, invisibility, feeling like we're not seen, we're not heard, we don't matter, being disconnected from our own breath or disconnected from the higher power, from our source. And then this attempts to fit in. It's like, I've got to fit in, but I got to be different. I got to fit in. I got to be like everybody else. But oh no, by the way, I got to be like everybody else. But no, on second thought, I got to be better than everybody else. So all of this incoherent impossibilities, this attempts to be what we cannot be, and then the belief that if we can pretend to be it. So we're hardwired for connection. We're hardwired to be in relationship with people. It's what gives us purpose and meaning in our lives. And without it, there's a great deal of suffering, and not to mention disease and all sorts of mental consequences, emotional consequences, physical consequences, and certainly spiritual consequences to this not feeling connected, belonging, or that we fit in. So we have to belong to ourselves first. Dare I say it? To belong to ourselves and to have some awareness of ourselves and some fierce compassion for ourselves before we can let anybody else see how we are, who we are, our own vulnerabilities, what we think, what we want, where we didn't do as well, where we're not proud of a certain outcome or wish something had turned out differently than it did. And any desire, any seeking, Byron Katie used to say that if she had a prayer, when people would ask if she prayed, she's like, I don't really pray, but if I did, I would only have one prayer. And that would be, Dear God, spare me from seeking love, appreciation, and approval from outside of myself. Spare me from the need for love, appreciation, and approval from others, basically. So any belonging that asks us to abandon ourselves, this need for belonging or this desire for belonging that causes us to betray ourselves or to spiritually abandon ourselves, is the opposite of true belonging. So belonging to myself first, connecting with myself first. And again, dare I say, to the creator of myself, thyself. So the higher power, God, life, manna, universe, mind, whatever you call it. And this spiritually disconnected state of mind that many of us are in and operate, because it is something that is prevalent in our lives and world, that anything that happens, it looks like somebody's done something to us. They did it to me, or that they did it, that something happened that is I didn't want. Anytime we don't get what we want, that we become spiritually disconnected, as though the world is against us, or somebody in the world is against us. So this is a diminishing sense of our shared humanity, to cut off spiritually from this. And then if spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably, absolutely, certainly connected to each other by the creator of all that is, by a power greater than us, whatever name you give that, and that our connection to that power is first, and my sense of belonging is going to be on more solid ground when my connection to source, and I am powered by that connection of source, then that is my first connection, is to source, and empowered there, then I'm going to be more able, more freely present for somebody else, for one another. And that my connection then with others, other humans, the human race, all of humanity, is grounded in a love, grounded in compassion, and grounded in not just a theory of oneness, but in an absolute realization of the oneness. So that what the mystics write and say about what are we going to do about the other, and their response is, there is no other. So what is affecting me is affecting the whole. What I do to undo something in me for the benefit of me, I've done for the benefit of the whole. So then true belonging is a spiritual practice, as I said in the opening. And true belonging is a spiritual practice of believing in, and even knowing. So whatever's past believing, knowing that we belong to something that created us. So the spiritual practice then of believing in this and belonging to that created us, and myself as that, so deeply that then I can share my most authentic self with the world. That there's sacredness in both being a part of something. There's sacredness in being included. There's also sacredness in not being included. There's sacredness in joining together, and there's sacredness in standing alone at times. True belonging then does not require us, you, me, to change who we are. The opposite. True belonging requires you to be, capital B-E, who you actually are. And true belonging requires that I be exactly who I am too. So big, deep breath. What's the implications of this? If it's true that true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves. True belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to others, to people, to the world. And then our sense of belonging can never be greater than my level of self-acceptance. My sense of belonging can never be greater than my level of self-acceptance. Your sense of belonging can never be greater than your level of self-acceptance. So maybe there's some more self-accepting to do here in this atlas of the heart work that we're doing. So we can never truly belong if we are betraying ourselves in any way. Our convictions, our ideals, our values, if we are pretending, like saying something doesn't matter to us when it does, letting something say it's fine, it's fine, it's fine when it's not fine, for example. So this is where it requires us to get vulnerable at times, to get uncomfortable, and to learn how to be present with people, particularly people who disagree with us, who don't have the same values, convictions, and things like that, without sacrificing who we are. So just today, I started to post into my social media platforms a picture. June is Pride Month, and there was pictures of people stating where they stand on this, that I'm an ally, a June Pride ally for LGBTQIA, and that most people that know me already know that about me. I don't feel like I have to make a declaration of that. And that has been true for me since I was a young girl, since I was a kid. And my first awareness of the struggles of gay people in my little rural school, and how very, very scared they were, how afraid they were. And I said, I'll stand with you. You don't have to be afraid with me. So then I noticed, instead of posting that I thought, oh my God, I don't want to open up a big can of worms with everybody lecturing me about allies and what it means. And then I'm like, what in the world am I thinking? Like, I don't want the discomfort of that. Well, sane people don't want discomfort, but I'm willing to bear some discomfort for that. So I put it out there that I'm celebrating Pride Month for June, and that I put myself there as an ally. And if discomfort comes from it, if pushback comes from it, that I'm equipped for that. And I absolutely cannot not stand where I stand on this. So it would be a betrayal of myself not to tell the truth about where I stand. So these are examples, true life examples of what belonging actually is and what belonging is not. And only you know what it is for you. And bearing some discomfort, some vulnerability, and willing to take some heat necessary. And for me, that I can do it often for others before I can do it for myself. So I can take a stance like that for the good of the whole, because I don't want the friends and the people that I have that's already bared unimaginable stress and pain because of that. If there's one thing I can do to ease it, done. I will do it. So by golly, the post went out. And this is, again, just one example of it. So think about then regarding belonging to you, and where you may not have taken a stance, where you may not have put your conviction out there or your value because you wanted to keep the peace. You didn't want to upset somebody, or you didn't really want the discomfort that was likely to come by opening that door, or putting disagreeing, or even exposing like what you really believe on the matter, what you really think and believe about the matter, to put your own convictions out there. So think about it then. What would cause you to pretend or to hold back? What fear? And what do you then think that you need to work on in order to change whatever's got to be changed for you to be truer to yourself. If belonging to yourself, caring for yourself, not abandoning yourself spiritually or emotionally is the key to belonging, and our goal here is to have a greater sense of belonging, what must you change to keep that deep sense of connection with yourself and your higher power, and to stand where you stand and to believe what you believe in your own convictions, regardless of where other people stand? What might you need to work on? What might you need to change in order to feel more connected with yourself? What is true for you or to your higher power? This also then, I wanted today to look at the differences of fitting in and belonging. So belonging is being somewhere where you want to be and they want you there. Fitting in is being somewhere where you want to be, but they don't care one way or the other if you're there or not. So think about that and what that does to your soul. When you want to be there and you know they want you to be there. And the difference of you want to be there, but they can really care less whether you're there or not. And what that does to your soul. Even your emotions, your psychology, your psyche. Belonging is being accepted for who you are. Fitting in is being accepted for being like everyone else. So I get to be me. I belong. And if I have to be like you to fit in, I can't do it all the time. I can't do it honestly all the time. Not being good at the same things that our parents were good at can leave us feeling like we don't belong. Feeling embarrassed because we don't have enough friends, enough money, enough education, enough sense of humor, or that we're not able to get around, can't drive at night, we're not a good athlete, we don't have the same physical stamina we did. So what causes you to feel like you don't belong? So connection then is hardwired. It's in the term like neurobiology. And this is why our experiences of disconnection are so painful. And it's why chronic disconnection leads to social isolations, depressions, apathy, despair, disease, addictions, loneliness, powerlessness. So chronic disconnection with a great deal of circumstances, a great deal of consequences. So it's no little thing then, I think, to commit to a spiritual practice of connection for belonging and the spiritual care of ourselves. Quoting Brené Brown, connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. Connection is the energy that exists in me when I feel seen by myself, when I feel heard by where I stand, and where I feel valued, not because of something I did, not because of what I got done, not because of the amount of money I gave, but my inherent, innate value. So connection exists as the energy when we are seen, heard, and valued by someone else, when I'm seen, heard, and valued by my own higher self, my true self. And when I can give and receive without judgment, and when we derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. Connection happens. And I know that you have this in your lives. I witness this with you, with each other. Those of you that I get to witness and know that this connection is vital for you, life-giving. And I've witnessed you over the years that I've known you to be very committed to keeping not only the connections with people, with humans, well cared for, but also the connections to your higher source through your own practices of prayer and meditation and surrender, contemplation, reflections, and things like that. And it's so vital because when this disconnection is not cared for, when it's not addressed, as dominant as it is and pervasive and frequently occurring, even chronically occurring, well, what happens in you when you lose touch with your own self? When you lose touch with your own feelings and your own inner experience, your own creative nature, your own divine nature. Quite consequential. So at the heart of this disconnection and loneliness is the absence of interaction. An absence of, it's like when we can't find God, it's like, well, God didn't move. God's not hiding. So as I reach out for God, that's how Richard Rohr says it is. When I reach out to God, God has always been reaching back for me. So God's reach was there first. And it's like my reaching toward God brings me into awareness that God's presence is there. So if I'm going to combat this disconnection, this loneliness, this despair, this disease that exists between myself and with people, then I'm going to have to be mindful and practice in being knocking and saying, it's me, Martha. Like, Martha, is anybody home? So that Martha can reach back to Martha, and God as Martha can reach back to me, which was always reaching anyway. I was just not aware of it. True belonging is not passive. It's the belonging that comes when we stop pretending, we stop selling out just to keep a perceived notion of safety or power or value. True belonging is a practice that requires us to be vulnerable, to get uncomfortable at times, and to learn how to be present. A fierce compassion for ourselves, a fierce compassion, therefore, with other people, and a way to be with people without sacrificing who we are. And the cultivating true belonging will require a tremendous courage for us to actually be who we are. A divine being in a human experience. Shall we? Let's begin again today. All my love to you. Greatest of blessings.